The Earth is being terrorized by mysterious creatures called Xenoterrans, an alien-like species that appear in coastal areas around the world. They're incredibly strong, fast, durable, and crazy ugly. They hunt humans for fun, and even the army can't do anything to stop them. The only thing keeping them at bay are people called superhumans. And one superhuman in particular is putting in a shift to stop every emerging Xenoterran attack in South Korea. The part-time student, part-time superhero called Kang Lim, or as the public knows him, White Cap. Because he has a white cap? Pretty smart, huh? Xenoterrans suddenly showed up on Earth about 5 years ago. And there have been a total of 37 attacks with a combined number of 517 casualties across the globe. They possess the destructive power to total a semi-truck with a single blow, and they can travel over 200 kilometers an hour, or about 124 miles an hour in freedom units. Besides being ridiculously strong and fast, Xenoterrans can even have different abilities, special talents copied from animals across the globe, like shapeshifting derived from chameleons or shooting webs like spiders. This speaks volumes for a high school hero though, because with just a few hits he can easily get rid of a Xeno. That's slang for Xenoterran. But let's take a step back. The story starts off with him being in school, paying, well, somewhat close attention towards being talked about by the teacher, when suddenly an alarm goes off. The so-called Xenoterran alarm, which always sounds when a Xeno attack is in progress. So our masked hero makes his way over to the location of the attack, but even though it appears so, he's not alone. He's got his trusty man in the chair, Yuri. So he charges over there and meets the monster. And besides the Xeno, there are already the SXDF at the scene. A special unit created specifically to fight and defeat the Inhumans. They can compete against your usual enemies, but later in the story, when the big hitters show up, they are basically useless again. However, besides the XSDF, there's also one other person at the stock, a mysterious man that will later be duped by the public as Black Cap, because he has a black cap. Smart, huh? And this guy can effortlessly tank one of White Cap's attacks, which means that he's probably a superhuman as well, and seemingly a not so friendly one. But there aren't just these two. There's actually a lot of different superhumans across the world. Some of them are famous and work as protectors of humanity. Some work in secret and try to defeat the Xenos while also protecting their own identity, and others stay hidden, not wanting anything to do with this whole war. Each superhuman is of course miles above a normal person in terms of physical ability. Basically all of the stats are maxed and then some. They possess insane strength, speed and durability. But that's not all, because every superhuman also has a special talent unique to them. There are a few basic ones like liquid control or super swiftness, but then there's also a few special ones. Like this one has the ability of a phoenix and basically the power of the sun, and he can just straight up resurrect people. Their power is being fueled by something called scent. The more scent the superhuman has, the stronger they are. And their power can only be used through activating the scent, which gives them these cool ass glowing eyes in a color fitting their talent. You can also tell that the author didn't just want to give the characters the same standard abilities that you see everywhere. It might start off this way, but after a while you realize that real effort was put into crafting these unique abilities for both the heroes and the Xenos. That's slang for Xenoterran. Especially the ability of a main character is really cool and unique. But it's not just him. There are a lot of interesting powers which you probably won't have seen before. This for example is Basilov, a Russian superhuman that kept a relatively low profile for most of his life. And his ability is that he's fat. Like, really fat. But when he's fighting, his body automatically burns all of the excess fat, and the thinner he gets, the stronger he gets. The speed in which his fat reduces is relative to how big of a threat his opponent is. So if he's fighting some chump, his fat will reduce slowly. If however he's fighting an actual demon, his ability will jumpstart, boosting his stats to incredible levels to match his opponent's strength instantly. You probably thought that I will elaborate on one of the new and unique powers in this manhwa, but no, I know that this ability isn't something really new, but I still wanted to give it a special mention because my favorite character. Deal with it. While the main story isn't that unique or special, it still isn't bad or anything like that. The superhumans have to protect humanity from an otherworldly threat, while some of the other superhumans change side and try to gain power of their own. It's just pretty standard stuff. And that's not that much of a turnoff, because there are just so many more things that you will like and appreciate more in this manhwa than the story. The biggest thing being that there are a ton of side characters that get introduced to us during the course of the manhwa. And all of them get their respective time to shine. Each of those side characters get developed to the fullest. We get to know the story, their relationships, dreams, and what burdens them. Through this, the author manages to truly make us feel with the characters and appreciate their growth. This is only possible because our main character takes more of a backseat after the first season. But this also isn't a bad thing. In the first season, he already grew plenty, both physically but also a bit as a person. And exactly this personal growth is his main objective now in the later seasons. He needs to deal with his trauma, understands himself and what he wants to be, and become strong enough to protect everyone he cares about. And while he does that, in the background, the other superhumans fighting the aliens progresses. Even though you don't see him too often, it still didn't feel like he was left out. Another thing that I want to praise is that you'd think that there's no time for comedy when you watch two nuclear bombs ripping each other apart. But there are actually a lot of funny and goofy scenes which surprisingly fit the story really well, lightening the mood without disrupting the overall tone of the series. And oh my god, the art is incredible. Like, the art style is quite cartoonish at the beginning, but over the course of the story it gets better and better until the art fully goes nuts. Generally, some of the best artwork and panels that I've ever seen. I have to say it, the way that the manhwa looks now actually ruined other manhwa and manga to some extent for me. The details, the shadows, the scars, the powers, everything is on point. And when you're in a fight, the art does an amazing job of actually making you feel the weight behind every single one of those attacks and the stakes that each fight has. There are also a ton of different moves that all of the giant casts can dish out, and it never feels like any ability is being forgotten. I feel like this is a big issue in many manga or manhwa, that when too many characters get introduced, the author just resorts to basic abilities and only gives the main character or the main cast a bit more depth. But this does not happen in Superhuman Era. Even in giant battles with like 10 characters going at it with all they've got, no one ever feels left out or forgotten. There is so much going on, abilities and buildings flying around the battlefield, people are dying, others are awakening their full potential, but I still have a good overview of who's fighting who and who's winning right now. And when we're on the topic of fights, they're actually a lot more violent than you might think. You'd think that this is a funny superhuman cartoon and all, but suddenly limbs get ripped off, people's heads are being cut off, skulls are being smashed, this shit goes crazy. These are some high stakes fights, and if you are unfortunate enough to be a side character, oh man, you won't get a happy end. You're lucky if you even escape with your life and or dignity. I've seen unnamed Xenoterrans get obliterated without even doing anything. But you also aren't safe if you are part of the main cast. Like, oh my god, take a look at the art, the pristine godlike art. You can see every little crevice of his face as he gets his shit punched out of him. And if you've even seen a single panel of the series, then you can already guess that this manhwa has actually mastered the art of producing badass and epic scenes on the regular. This of course is partly because of the amazing art style, but also because we know these characters that are facing off so well, so we know what's at stake. Goosebumps every other chapter. It's an accumulation of the amazing art style combined with the top tier world building and character development. This is not something that a lot of manga or manhwa can do. Okay, so the art is godlike, the world building is top tier, the character development is great, the fights are amazing, and the story is okay. If that doesn't get you going, then I don't know what will. If you're a fan of badass fights, then do yourself a favor and read this manhwa. The art in the beginning is a bit wonky, but it keeps on getting better and better until it reaches ridiculous heights. I think that's enough praising for today, so let's end it here. Give this manhwa a chance and open up the first chapter and then simply enjoy and lose yourself in over 200 more. So have fun reading and see you in the next one. Stay happy and bye!